Good morning. We're learning as Chutzpah for Shlema Filan Chai Basarach. We're on the Mishnah on Daf Chav Ches Amud Aleph. Shiva Kanei Menorah Ma'akvin Zeh. The 7 branches of the menorah are all ma'akiv. They're all b'diavad. You must have them. Shiva Nereiseh. On the top of each branch there was a ner, which was like a cup to hold the oil in the wick. Ma'akvin Zeh. Any of them are missing, the menorah is possible. Shtei parshiyos b'mezuzah ma'akvin zezu. The 2 parshiyos of the mezuzah of Shema v'Hayim Shemaya. Afilu kasav echad, afilu ksav echad ma'akvad. Even one letter that is incorrect is ma'akav the mezuzah. Dalet parshiyos b'tefillin ma'akvad zezeh. The 4 parshiyos in tefillin are all ma'akav. Unfortunately, I don't think we're going to see them. Rashi and Rabbeinu Tam. So we could just explore how many sets of tefillin you have to have, which depends on the order. But this is saying that you have to have all of them. If any of them are missing, it's ma'akav. Afilu ksav echad ma'akav. Even one letter incorrect is ma'akav. Daled tzitzis ma'akav zuazu. You have to have all tzitzis on all 4 corners of a beged. Shabasa mitzvah achas. Because all 4 of them are one mitzvah. You don't get a mitzvah if you have 3 out of 4 tzitzis on your beged. Yishmael Abbas and Arba mitzvahs. Yishmael says the 4 tzitzis are 4 separate mitzvahs. You could be yaitza some without being yaitza the others. Zakumar, my time. Where does it come from? The first thing that we said that Naira, all 7 branches are ma'akav one another. If you're missing any one of them, it's the Naira and the Beis Hamikdash would not be kosher for avodah. So Gemara Havaya Ksibuhu. It says Havaya. It says that what does it say? Ves Esneresel. It says Vasisa Menorah Tar Miksha Teyaseh Menorah Recha V'Kana Guya V'Kaftura Pircha Mimena Yiu. Yiu is a lashon of Havaya, which says that's the way it must be. Good morning, Menachos. I didn't mean to mislead you. I just thought in case my cousin Rob was looking, I just wanted to say what time we were going to be learning.
Great, thank you.
Tana Rabban. We're right after the Gemara. We just started the Gemara on Chav Ches Amud Aleph. Tana Rabban. Menorah ha'isabah min ha'eshes u'min hazav. The menorah was made from eshes, which is a single chunk of metal that was shaped into the shape of a menorah. It wasn't made out of separate pieces that were attached. Umin hazav was made out of gold. Also, min hagrutos, if instead of making it from a single piece, you made it from multiple pieces, psula, that apostles it. Mishar min matches, but if you make it out of a different metal, ksher, it's kosher. So it's a little bit deceptive, because the truth of the matter is, even though we're saying it as the Brisa seems to be saying it as a rule, that if it's made from separate pieces, if the menorah is made from separate pieces, it's possible. The Gemara will be clear later on that that's only if the menorah is made out of gold. If the menorah is made of gold, then it also must be made out of one piece of metal. But if it's made out of something else, then it doesn't have that requirement, as well as the other requirements that we're going to see for a menorah. Zak the Gemara. Maishna min agrutas psula. Why do we say if it's not made min ha'ashas, if it's not made from one piece that's shaped, rather it's you put together a bunch of different pieces together? To say miksha v'havaya. The Torah says, "Vasisa menorah zav tar miksha teyaseh," and then it says afterwards, "Mimena yiu." In fact, the Gemara. So therefore, that's why that if it's missing that's ma'ak. It says in the pasuk, in the same place where it says "Vasisa menorah zav tar miksha," it also zav, and that's in the same pasuk. It says havaya. So why are we saying that the requirement that it be made out of one solid piece is ma'akev, but the requirement that it be made out of zav is flexible, that if it's not made out of zav, it's still kosher. So Gemara Amakra Teosel, the Rabbi Shami Menachos. Since the pasuk says the word Teosel, which is lashon, you can make it in a number of ways. It's coming to tell you even out of other metals other than gold, it's still kosher. Why do you say it's being marba that you can make it not out of gold? Let's say it's coming to be marba. It doesn't have to be made out of one solid piece. So because it says the word because it says miksha next to havaya. In fact, the Gemara Teasa Nami Miksha. The Teasa is also in that same pasuk of miksha. So Gemara miksha la'akev. Since it says miksha twice, it says in the next pasuk. It says at the end of the pasuk as well that it says the word miksha again. So that tells you that it's ma'akev. Like the word zav nami la'akev. It says zav also twice. So let's say zav is also ma'akev. So the Gemara haimai. Yeah, misham min agruto is psula, misham min matchas kshera, hainu zav miksha l'drasha. If you're going to learn the way we're suggesting, that not making out of one single piece is la'akev, and zav is not, we're going to be able to darshan the psukim of miksha. It says miksha, I think, 4 times. I'm sorry, it says zav 4 times, it says miksha 5 times. So we'll be able to come up with a drush of each one. But if you can say the other way around, that the zav is la'akev and grutus is only l'chatchila, that grutus kshera, if you make it out of pieces, it's going to still be kosher, even though you didn't make it out of one piece. And from shamin and matras, if it's not from zav, it's going to be puzzle. Zav, miksha, my drasha. What are you going to do with these drashas? My drasha. So now the Gemara is going to say, what is the drasha that we actually have from all these words of zav and miksha. The Tanya. Kika zav tar yasa oisa. The Torah says you should make it kikar zav, which is a shear, a certain amount of zav, tar, clean, yasa oisa. You should make it. We're going to see later on that it was very refined gold. As kol kelim eil, you should make all of these kelim. Ba zav, ba kikar. Eina bazav, eina ba kikar. We darshan that only if it says kikar zav, the Torah says you have to make a kikar of zav. So if it's made out of gold, then it also needs to have the shear of a kikar. It has to be that shear. But if it's not zav, then it doesn't require the kikar. So obviously, this drasha is saying that it's optional to have zav. So therefore, when we darshan before teasel, that it's saying l'rabis that it could even be not it doesn't have to be la'akev. That must be going on the zav and not the asashus and the grutus. Not as far as how many pieces you have to make it out of. Because you see that we use this pasuk to tell you that it's only ba zav, ba kikar. And if you have to do it of zav, then you would always need a kikar. What would it mean? What would be the point of that? Gvia kafterah, the pasuk continues. Gvia kafterah parcha. Bazav bagvim kaftaru prachim. Ain't a bazav, ain't a bagvim kaftaru prachim. Again, all these requirements of gvim are the cups that we use to decorate the menorah, and they were like cups, not the neiros at the top, but cups for decoration on the branches of the main branch of the menorah. Kaftarim are like the pomegranates, the balls that were also decorative, and prachim are the flowers that were decorating it. So if it's made out of zav, ain't a zav, ain't a bagvim kaftarim prachim. All these things are not necessary if the menorah was not made out of gold. We're going to see later on that at the time of the Maccabees, when things were very difficult, they had a menorah they called the iron spit. It was like, the Chabad menorahs that are 12 feet tall. So it's 12 feet. It's not going to be all ungapachkid. So they're just like a straight piece of metal. So during the time of the Maccabees, they had to have very simple menorahs, but as long as it's not made out of zav, it doesn't need all the decorations. Once you're saying this, it says a whole bunch of things in the pasuk. It says in addition, Kika Zav Tar Yasa says Kol Kakel Ela, but it also says the kinim next to Zav. So why do we say that the kanim, the branches are also only when you make it out of gold, but if you make it out of some other material, you could just make a single, like a Havdalah candle. You just make a single branch. How do you know you need all 7 branches if it's not made out of gold? The Gemara, no, Hahu Pamat Mikri. You couldn't call it a menorah. A menorah, by definition, is something with multiple branches. So if you would make it with only one branch, it wouldn't be a menorah anymore. It would be a candlestick. Pasuk continues: "Is that my menorah mixtures of ba zav ba mixture? Ain't a ba zav, ain't a ba mixture." This that we said, the requirement that it has to be made out of a single piece of metal, that's only from zav. But if it's made out of a different metal, it doesn't have to be a single piece of metal. So you see from here also, there's again a raya to what we had said before, that the pasuk of Yeasel is telling you that zav is not ma'akiv, but miksha is ma'akiv in zav. Because I know there's a little confusing, but the point is, we're seeing that zav is not b'di'ev, it's not required, and miksha is required. Now, there's a limitation to this requirement of miksha that only applies in zav, but it is an absolute requirement. If you make it out of zav and you don't make it out of a single piece of metal, it's going to be possible. So tomorrow, miksha the sefer l'mayasa. What about the pasuk says again another time miksha? What do we learn out from that? L'mute chatzaitrus. That's coming to exclude chatzaitrus. The Tanya. That means all these requirements that we said about these different kalim. It's coming to say that the chatzaitrus that are also said miksha, that it says miksha, those are not ma'akav. The Tanya, chatzaitrus hayubayim menachos. The chatzaitrus were built out of a single piece of metal, menakesef, out of silver. Awesome. Menagrutas ksherim, if it's exact opposite of the menorah. By the chatzaitrus, if they're made out of separate pieces, it's still kosher b'diavad. And mishamini matras, but if you don't make it out of silver, that passes. Which is the opposite of by a menorah, where we said that if it's not made out of gold, it's still kosher. But if it's not made out of a single piece, it is possible. Where do we see that? Kesef v'havaya. It says kesef and havaya, so it tells you kesef by the chatzaitrus is ma'akav. In fact, the Gemara menagrutas nami miksha v'havaya. It says miksha and havaya as well. So let's say by the chatzaitrus, making it out of one piece is also ma'akav. So Gemara mi'et rachman agav miksha he v'loy chatzaitrus. So finally, getting back, what was the miksha that it said by menorah is to tell you only menorah has a requirement that it be made out of it's only kosher it's made out of one piece. To be memayit that by chatzaitrus that's not the case. Tana Rabbah. Pala kelim she'asam Moshe ksherim le'yu ksherim l'deiros. All the kelim that Moshe made at the time of the building of the Mishkan they were permanently in use. They didn't throw out the menorah, they didn't hide the menorah after he made it. The only exception was the chatzaitrus. They were only used by Moshe Rabbeinu at that time, but afterwards there were a bunch of different uses that the pasuk describes that the chatzaitrus were used for, but they were, after he used them, they weren't used anymore. Chatzaitrus my timer. Why is the chatzaitrus different? The pasuk says, "Aseilecha shtei chatzaitrus kesef miksha tasa oisam v'heilecha lenikra ha'eda l'mases ha'menachos." Whatever all the different requirements, what it's used for. If you say lecha, tells you asei lecha. that means only for you, but not for the future. L'cha v'lo daris. Elamiata v'sisu l'cha aronates. Hachanami d'l'cha v'lo daris. Would you say about the Aron Kodesh as well? The Aron with the luchas in it was only built for Moshe Rabbeinu, and then they had to put it away. It says l'cha. Ella, that's not what l'cha means. Ella ilaman da'ama l'cha mishel l'cha. Ila, there's a machlokes about what the pasuk means when it says l'cha. One man da'ama says l'cha means, this is talking about in the context of when the Torah says when the Rebbeinu Shalom said to Moshe l'cha, does it mean that it has to be paid for by Moshe Rabbeinu himself, or does it mean just that the Rebbeinu Shalom is saying, "I would prefer that you were the one who did it," but he doesn't have to pay for it from his own funds. So according to Mandam, it says that Moshe Rabbeinu had to actually pay for the things that the Rebbeinu Shalom said. Aseilucha ilaman the kaviyachal b'shalchani roitzu yosem b'shalahem. The Gemara doesn't want to say that the Rebbeinu Shalom preferred Moshe Rabbeinu over Klal Yisrael. So it says kaviyachal, as if to say the Rebbeinu Shalom saying, I would prefer yours better than everyone else's, but it has nothing to do with who pays for it. But in either case, l'cha is not like we said before, l'cha v'lo l'daris. So these are the two options. You can pick which one you want, but it's not telling you l'cha v'lo l'daris. So again, hai nami mi b'ay le'lahachi. So we need the l'cha over here also for that. So so back to the question, where do we see that the chatzos of Moshe were not able to be used in the future? So Shani Hazim Damakra L'cha Trezimni. Asay L'cha V'hayu L'cha. Since the Torah says L'cha twice, that's how we know the L'cha over there by the Chatzaisis is telling the ones of Moshe cannot be reused. Re'nechanami, all the other Kalim certainly could be. Tanya Rav Papa Breder of Chan and Kameder of Yosef. Rav Papa said in front of Rabbi Yosef, in front of Rav Chan, who said in front of Rabbi Yosef, Menorah Ha'isa Ba Min Ha'eshes Min Hazav. The menorah could be bought it came from a single piece, and it came from gold. Ashos al kasef kshera, but if you made it of a different metal, it's kosher, like we said earlier in the first brisa. Shall boatz v'shal eve v'shal gisterin, of different lower quality metals. Boatz is, I think, what is it? I know aver is lead. Boatz is maybe I don't remember what boatz. I think maybe it's tin. And gisterin is another cheap metal. Rebbe Paisel, Rebbe Yehuda Machsher. Rebbe says it's pasul. Yehuda says it's kosher even with the cheap metals. Shaletz v'shalata v'shalschuch is dever kopsul. But everyone agrees if the menorah was made out of wood or out of bone or out of glass, everyone agrees it's pasul. That is Rav Papa's version of the brisa. Amalei my daitach. So Rav Yosef asked Rav Papa, what's the possible explanation of the distinction? What does one man Amma say? Why do they both? Everyone says shalates is no good, but they argue about which metals could be used. Amalei bein mar klal uprati darshan. They both darshan a klal upratu klal. The Torah says a klal that you should make the menorah. Then it says a prat to make it out of zav, and then it says a klal that you should make the menorah. One mandam says any metal. Since it says zav, that's a davar chashav. I've called davar chashav, but the cheaper metals will be excluded. But again, like we said, wood or some other non-metallic material is apostle to everyone. Rabbi Yosef said, I don't agree with the brisa you have is incorrect. I have a different brisa, and I feel my brisa is more correct. The Tanya, Kli Sharis Ashot Shel Eitz, Rabbi Pais, Rabbi Yehuda Gmachsher. Rabbi Yehuda says a Kli Sharis made out of wood is kosher. So he's disagreeing with the brisa that we said before that everyone agrees that Shel Eitz is possible. But how would we explain this machlokes between Rabbi and Rabbi Yehuda? Rabbi Yehuda says Shel Eitz is kosher. Rabbi darish klalu prati. Rabbi darshans klalu prat. We've had this a number of times before. If you darshan, or you have a generality, then a specific, and then a generality as a klalu prat, then we're saying that everything has to be like the prat. Rabbi Yehuda darish ribuy miyut. He says it's a ribuy, miyat and ribuy. So you say it's a riba miyat. The riba is marba, then the miyat detracts, and the riba is marba everything back. And then we say that it's only excluding one thing. So the difference between a klal upratu klal and a riboy miyat and riboy is by a klal upratu klal, it's marba many things. Those things that are similar to the prat. If you say a riboy, a miyat and riboy, then it's marba everything, not just the things that are similar, but everything is included, except for one thing that is the thing that's the least similar to the prat. So Rabbi Darish klali upratu. Vasisa menaira, there's riboy miyut. Darish klali upratu. Vasisa menaira klal. Zav Torah prat, miksha te'asa menaira chazav klal. Klal prat klal yata adadan elkein prat. Ma prat mefur shel matras, av kol shel matras. The Rebbe who says that it can't include eights, so it says zav. That's everything that's made out of matras. It has to be similar to the prat. So Yehuda darsh ribuyo miyuti. He's dashing a riba miyat riba, which is marba more. Vasisa menayra riba zav tar miyat miksha teasa hamnayra v'chazav riba miyat riba hakol. Everything is meruba except for one thing. The Gemara always leaves that out, which is confusing. But that's the way when we say riba hakol, it means almost everything is included. Umay Rabbi call mili. It includes everything, not just metal, but even wood. Umay miyat shel cheres. The only thing that's excluded is cheres. Cheres is considered very lowly. That's the least likely thing to be used as a klisharis. So that is that's Rabbi Yosef's version of the brisa. He says eights is included. Rav Papa's version of the brisa said eights everyone agrees is no good. Other Abbasami Dachme Kabedidi. So Rav Papa answered him back, why do I have to listen to you? I think my brisa is better. So like that. Tanya, ainly zav, maybe afshal kesef, shal nechoshev, shal barzel. If he doesn't have of gold, he could bring out of silver or of copper or of iron. Shal bedil, shal oifris. He could bring of tin or of lead. Yehuda says even shalates. So you see, like Rabbi Yosef's version that shalates, Rabbi Yosef Yehuda says it's kosher. Another brayso, adam based tavnes heichal. A person is not allowed to build a house. You see these model Beis Hamikdash. A person is not allowed to build a model a full size Beis Hamikdash. They have in Vegas, they have the Eiffel Tower and they have the Statue of Liberty. You cannot build such a thing and then live in it. It's also to live in something built in the dimensions of the Beis Hamikdash. Achsadra keneged ulam. You can't build a porch like the heichel or the ulam, the porch part outside of the heichel. Chatza keneged azara. You can't make a courtyard in the same dimensions of the azara. Shulchan keneged shulchan. You can't make a table in your house like the shulchan. Menorah keneged menorah. You can't make a menorah like the menorah in the Beis Hamikdash. You can make a menorah with less or more branches. You can make it with 5 branches or 6 or 8, just not 7. You can't make it out of 7. Even if you make it out of other metals, since the menorah in the Beis Hamikdash was kosher out of other metals, so you can't make in your house also, even if it's of other metals, it's still with 7 branches, it's going to be awesome. It used to be hudaimer, afshal eitz, you can't even make out of wood. Lo yasa. Beis Chashmonai, because in the Beis Chashmonai, when they were very hard up, they made wooden menorah, so you can't even make a wooden menorah. So obviously, you see that a wooden menorah is kosher. Amrullah misham raya, is that a raya that the wooden menorahs are kosher? Shvudim shel barzel hayu. They were really iron bars, v'chipas babats, and they lined them with tin so that they should look nicer. And that tin would get it got dirty and it looked like wood, but it really was never made out of eights. Heshiru, when they got more money, asam shal kesef, they made it out of silver. Chazar v'eshiru, ashrim shal zav, when they got enough money, they made it out of gold eventually. Amr shul shnei desava, goyva shal menorah shmoina asu tfachim. The height of a menorah was 18 tfachim. Hargalim v'aferach gimel tfachim. The base of the menorah, with its blossom, with its decorative blossom, was 3 tfachim. Utvachayim chelik. Then you have two tfachim that were smooth without anything on it. So that you have a total of 5. The tefach sheboy gavia, the kafta beferach. Then you had a sixth tefach, which had on it one decorative cup and one decorative ball and one decorative flower. Utvachayim chelik. So that gets up to 2 more smooth with nothing on them. So that gets us to 8. The tefach kaftar ushnei kanim yoytzim mimenu. Then you had a ninth tefach, which had a ball on it and 2 branches coming in. Echad elech, one to each direction. The branches went up until they reached the height of the top of the menorah. The tefach chalak and another smooth tefach. I think we're up to 10. I think I lost count. A tefach kafta shnei kanim. Then a tefach with a ball and 2 kanim yoytzim imenu echad elef mishachim v'oil k'neged goyve shamanayra. The tefach chelik. The tefach kafta shnei kanim yoytzim imenu echad elef mishachim v'oil k'neged goyve shamanayra. So that was a total of 6 for the 3 heights at which branches came out. In addition, I think we were up to 9 before that. I think that gets, I'm not 100%, I think it gets up to 15. Tvachaim chelik, and 2 more were smooth. That would be 17. Shtayrisham gimel, no, I guess I got it wrong. Shtayrisham gimel tvachim, shemahan gimel gviyim v'kafta v'ferach. So it was left after all of these, this is all adding up from the central branch, was left over 3 tvachim that it had on it 3 cups, decorative cups, and 3 decorative balls, and one decorative ball and 1 decorative flower. And what were these cups like? Kamin kaisis Alexandrias, like the Alexandrian cups. Kaftar l'mayim diamond. What were the round balls like? Kamin tapuchei karsim. It was like the apples that they have in Karsi. It's like the flowers that they put on the pillars, the decorative flowers. Turns out that the total amount of cups was 22. There were 11 of the round decorative balls. Pracham tisha, and 9 blossoms. If you're missing any of the cups, it's ma'akev, kaftar ma'akman zezeh, and the balls are ma'akev one another, prachayim are ma'akman zezeh, and the blossoms are ma'akev one another. Again, just to remember, this is all only if it's made out of zav. If it's made out of another metal, or according to Yehuda, it's made out of wood, you don't have to have any of these decorative elements. That's why we had by the Maccabees, they didn't have anything on. Kaftar u'prachim ma'akman zezeh. If you're missing one of the 3 things, if you don't have the kaftirim, if you don't have the balls, then the blossoms are no good, and vice versa. So we can make a cheshbon of how you have 22 decorative cups. It says the menorah had 4 cups. There were 3 cups on each one of the branches. So that's 3 times 6. There were 6 branches. So arba dida v'tam nesari dekanim. You have 4 in the main branch, and 18, 3 times 6 of the other branches. And that adds up to 22. Kaftar nami achara. So we could also get the cheshbon of how you have 11 decorative balls. Kaftar and the trey dida. You have 2 of the original kaftar, v'shisha dekanim, and 6, 1 on each branch. So that's 8. The kaftar. Then you had the pasuk says 3 times kaftar on the top of the main branch, the main trunk. So that's another 3. Hachad sar, that adds up to 11. Elaprachim teisha minolim. Where do you get to 9 flowers? Prachim trei dida. You have 2. It says prach. It has 2 on the base, the main base. V'shisha dekanim, and 1 on each of the branches. Tam have it. That's only 8. Where do you get 9? It says, ad pircha, until its flowers, that's another pircha that was on the main branch. Okay, we'll stop over here. Tomorrow, we're going to get to the parsha of Stam, the bottom of this Amud, Be'ez Hashem. Okay, Shkoyach. Have a good day.
Good day, Kol Tov.
Have a good day.